This 10.62%, I'm going to be fair, is actually a lot higher than they wish it were. And at the end of the day, it's going to impact food stamp benefits and beneficiaries in just a matter of months. Now, let's stick this article up on the screen right here, right now. Feel free to read through the details on this. Let me explain exactly what's going on. All right, so the USDA has announced the error rate, as in the error payment rate, in fiscal year 2025. Now, I'm going to be fair. I'm filming this video middle, approaching the endish of 2026 right now. But anyway, fiscal year 2025, the federal government, as in USDA and the states, well, I should say basically the states, sent out 10.62% of the payments as error payments. This totals $10.1 billion of error payments that went out in fiscal year 2025 to beneficiaries. That's a lot of money. $10.1 billion, not million, billion dollars. So, point being is that there's a couple of different reasons why this matters. Number one, last summer, with that big tax cut bill, one of the provisions within it was that states need to bring down their error payment rate to under 6%. Now, this figure out of the USDA is suggesting a national average of 10.62%. So some states are way higher than that, some states are a bit lower than that, but that's the average across the country. Now, the reason that this matters is that big piece of legislation that was signed into law last summer suggests that states must reduce their error payment rate under 6%. And you might be thinking, okay, well, don't tell me what to do. I'll have my error payment rate whatever I want it to be. That's fine. You can, okay? As a state, they can do that. But here's the problem. The federal government is going to start to punish the states with a penalty of between 5%, 10%, and 15%, depending on their error payment above 6%. Now, what that simply means is the following. As of right now, and again, as I've explained many, many times over the last several years, the food stamp program is funded by the federal government. So think of it this way. It's just like Medicaid. Food stamps come from the federal government, but the states administer them to the beneficiaries. So the federal government pays all the food stamp benefits to the states. The states take that money and send it out to the beneficiary. Okay, so the states technically don't pay any of the actual food stamps that go to beneficiaries. The states pay for the administration of the food stamp program, but they don't actually pay for the benefit. The federal government does that. But here's the problem. Along with that legislation, it indicates any state that has an error payment rate between 6 and 8% will have a 5% penalty. In other words, the federal government will only pay 95% of the benefits to the state. The state has to pay the other 5% in that instance. Now, a state that has an error payment rate between 8% and 10%, they'll be on the hook for 10% of the allotment that needs to go out to beneficiaries. So the federal government will only pay 90% of those benefits to the state. The state will need to come up with the other 10% of the dollars to go out to the beneficiary. Not good, because states are broke. They don't have any extra money. Now, here's the worst. Any state that has an error payment rate over 10% will then be hit with a 15% penalty. So the federal government would only pay 85% of the benefit to the state to be paid out to the beneficiary, and that would also mean that the state would need to come up with the other 15% of the benefit to pay out to the beneficiary. Now, what have you heard me say many times here on the channel in other dedicated videos about states? They're broke. They have no money. States are terrible with money. They don't have any clue what to do with money. They're terrible at managing money, and anytime that they have some money, they blow it on dumb stuff. Look around. If you don't believe me, look around your state. Look at all the dumb crap they're buying and wasting your money on. They don't know what to do, right? We got a little bit of money. Let's blow it on something. It's what they do all the time because they're clueless. They have no idea what they're doing. So anyway, my point being is this. States, considering they don't know what they're doing, they have no fiscal responsibility, and they blow money on all kinds of random stuff, they will not have any additional money to pay out to beneficiaries. So any state going forward, again, starting in October of 2027, to be fair. Okay, so that's a little more than a year from right now as I film this video. But October 1st of 2027 will be the year when these penalties, well, the month, I should say, is when the penalties start for these states. So any state that has an error payment rate over 6% will be hit with a penalty, 5%, 10%, or 15% from the federal government, meaning that they will only receive the respective dollar amount that is congruent with their error payment rate for that respective state. So my point being is that states will need to come up with the amounts of tens of millions of dollars to pay out to the beneficiaries that they don't have. So, trivia question for the day: who do you think is going to be the one that is ultimately going to pay this 5, 10, or 15% penalty? Is it the federal government? Is it the state? Or is it the beneficiary? It's multiple choice on this trivia question. You know the answer. It's the beneficiary. Federal government will say, we don't give a rip. This is the rule. States will say, but we're broke. We don't have any money. We don't know what to do. Please give us some free money. And the beneficiaries will say, WTF, what's going on here? We did nothing wrong. We did nothing wrong at all, and we're not getting our full benefit because our state is a cheapskate. Yep, so it's going to happen. It's going to happen to a lot of people, unfortunately. So this is the problem. So here's what we can do, or basically as beneficiaries, you can't do anything. But here's what the states need to do. But basically, they have 2 years to choose from, fiscal year 2025 and fiscal year 2026, to choose basically their error payment rate year to determine their penalty. Well, I hope that they're getting things figured out right now, because the states that don't have it figured out are going to have that penalty coming in a little more than a year from right now as I film this video. And that's going to be a bad situation. And we're going to see many states across the country, they're going to get hit with 5 to 10 to 15% penalties. And ultimately, that's going to translate into reduced benefits for the beneficiaries on food stamps, because the states won't have the dollars to pay out to the beneficiary. Therefore, well, unfortunately, the beneficiary is going to be the one that sees it in their monthly benefit, as in they're not going to be paid their full amount. Now, here's the confusing, or the part about this that is going to be different. It's going to be different for every single state. There's going to be plenty of states out there that don't have a penalty. There's going to be other states out there that have a 5% penalty, other states that have a 10, other states that have a 15. It's going to be different across the board. And how each state handles this is also going to be different. Some states may come forward, if they have like a 5% penalty, say, okay, well, we made a mistake. We're working on it. We're doing our best to correct these, and we'll step forward and we'll pay the difference to the beneficiary. Some states will do that. Other states will do absolutely nothing. So that's the tough part about the food stamp program, is that because it's federally funded and state administered, it's going to be different across the board for every single state and how they approach this going forward when these penalties are actually implemented. Either way, I want you to be very aware of this, because a lot of people don't recognize this is coming, and it's going to come for a lot of people, and it's going to be impactful for a lot of people on food stamps.